I want to take on Iron Mike.
No, you're nothing.
I could do it.
No.
I'm 4 to 9 times stronger than the average man.
Ain't that something?
I could do it.
Yes, you read that correctly. Former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson is slated to battle social media celebrity Logan Paul next. Because why not at this point? This is according to a drama alert tip from a social media source, the full facts of which are unknown at this time. According to the article, Tyson vs. Paul will take place in February 2022, which means the new year may begin with a bang or a sigh, depending on how you look at it.
Fight Mike Tyson because it's a legacy thing, and I think I beat him. I really do, and a lot of people laugh, but like, beat him. He's just too old.
In November, Tyson, 55, returned to the ring for an exhibition bout against fellow veteran Roy Jones Jr. Mike looked fantastic in his first action in years, despite his time off. Tyson and Jones Jr. fought to a draw, but his still ferocious hitting opened some eyes.
The former WBC World Champions is a draw.
It'll be intriguing to see how the former champion cope against someone as young as Paul in the spry, but Tyson will have a definite technical advantage. Paul's age is fresh off a blockbuster pay-per-view boxing battle against Floyd Mayweather, the pound-for-pound king. The social media sensation was clearly outclassed in the battle, but he fought him for 8 rounds and showed that he is at least capable of going the distance and getting the biggest opponents they can. They definitely want to prove their value, and it's understandable that Logan would go after Tyson since he's still in the game and is still regarded to some extent. It's no secret that the Paul brothers are nothing if not hype men when it comes to teasing Mike Tyson. They know how to build up anticipation for their fights and tease their potential opponents in the ring. For the stars, it's literally what they do to make a living at this point. During an episode of his Impulsive podcast, Logan and brother Jake Paul took a moment to discuss potential opponents. As usual, the duo shared their confidence and cut a brief promo to try to catch the attention of a big name like Mike Tyson. Someone mentioned Mike Tyson, my lawyer mentioned it, and he's like, nah, Tyson will rip your head off. You don't stand a chance. I'm like, I just went through all this, you can't tell me you can't beat Mike Tyson. He's old, said Logan Paul. And the irony of the statement should not be lost on anyone, because Tyson, as we noted earlier, proved he can still hit and is in enough shape to go and handle business. Not to mention that when Logan talks crap about Floyd Mayweather, the only thing that got him was being gassed after 8 rounds and having stats that showed he wasn't in his league. And considering Tyson is one of the best boxers of all time, how do you think that would go? That's what we thought too, but that hasn't prevented the Paul brothers from flapping their gums in an attempt to get things moving. Why stop now when it has worked for them in the past, more or less? As for Mike Tyson's support, that can get fairly interesting. You see, when Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather happened, a lot of people were quick to judge Logan for what he did and didn't do in the fight, but Mike Tyson wasn't one of them. After watching the fight that Logan Paul had, Tyson went and decided to congratulate the YouTube star on the fight he waged. You kicked. I was wrong. You kicked. Ain't no doubt about it, Tyson said. I'm proud of you. You're the baddest everybody's talking about you. You're the man you win. He had recalled the legend's words.
Floyd's a bitch. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. He's gonna fight back, though.
That's great.
He's gonna fight back. He's gonna
Pull
fight
out
back.
all the money.
What do you think about Logan Paul? Now, what do you think he should do next?
I think he should fight Badu Jack.
That's true. Oh yeah. Logan. Okay. Because Logan said your name. Did you hear him?
No, what'd he say?
He mentioned your name. He said, oh, even Mike Tyson said that I would get beat up by Floyd, and I didn't. So Mike, where you at? That's what he said. I said, whoa.
He's right. I thought Floyd was gonna stop him, nigga. I gotta bow down. I gotta say, you're right.
Paul was quite appreciative of his opponent on the night after 8 rounds with, quote, the greatest of all time. But Tyson believes he did a good job of fending off Mayweather. He was quick, he was swift. That's what Paul said. He wasn't that sassy, to be sure. You caught him with one of those blows, Tyson answered, and he was forced to eat his words after predicting Mayweather would knock him up back in December, though he did anticipate Paul to fight back. And Tyson has made his respect for the Paul brothers since then. Mike is also noted for crediting the pair for reigniting mainstream interest in the dying sport. When the UFC threatened to make boxing the most popular combat sport, Tyson, for example, was quite direct and honest about how he felt after the Jake Paul fight during his comeback event. The idea that people like Jake Paul could bring attention back to the sport and that they were doing more for it than he was, which indeed is high praise. And to be fair, Jake Paul's fight and Logan's fight against Money Mayweather were indeed big news, no matter how you looked at it. Sure, the fights weren't the best in the terms of quality, especially Logan's, but they did draw attention to the sport.
But what do you think about the idea of celebrities, YouTubers, entertainers getting into the ring?
I think that's the biggest thing and the biggest help for boxing in the history of boxing. You know, that shows the power of boxing, that it's spread into another field that doesn't even exist in the real boxing world.
but it still has its place in boxing.
Do you think it does any, and this is just me just channeling words of commentators, do you think it does any disservice to the sport? Do you think that it in any way discounts the work?
Hey, there's been guys that cheated, took all the lead out of their gloves. I bit somebody's ear. So how low boxing's gonna go?
Right.
No, really.
Right.
Boxing's only going up.
Right.
You can't take it no lower. No, I'm serious. I'm not being funny. You can't take this is what you do when you can't do nothing else.
And a rematch between Logan and Tyson would do the same, even if it's attracting attention for wrong reasons. Also, what people on the outside are thinking, one of the reasons that many people aren't interested in these unique boxing fights is that they are, on a whole, worthless amateur boxing matches at best, or exhibition matches at worst. Tyson went on to have his comeback event in November of last year, because he sincerely wanted to show the world what he was capable of, and that he hadn't lost his step, and to the amazement of many, he hadn't. He clearly had the power to keep going, and even though his match ended with no decisive winner, it wasn't for lack of trying if Tyson went and fought the Paul brothers.
I'm Mike Tyson. I'm on Weibo now, and let you know, there's a possibility I might come back. But if I do, I'm gonna fight with the spirit of Miles.
He'd go for the knockout in either of them, and he wouldn't care what the crowd thought. Didn't say he'd go for the KO with Floyd, and that's why the fight went all of 8 rounds. So knowing that Logan might face Tyson just emphasizes why this type of boxing is so irritating. If Mike KOs Logan, it only proves that Floyd held back, and that Logan isn't ready for boxing. If Logan were to KO Tyson or finish the fight, it would just illustrate that he battled Tyson past his prime. Whereas if he tried this at his prime, Tyson would have chewed him up and spit him out. Furthermore, there are indications that one of the criteria for the possible exhibition battle is that neither side would be allowed to go for a KO. Now, this is stupid in every aspect, because it limits what one side can do over the other. Tyson would never agree to it. Also, his recent videos prove that number 1 of the training videos Mike Tyson is gonna fight in, though we know that for a fact. And he released a set of training videos recently, showing that he's still willing to give it all in the ring. Plus, his video has gotten certain people's attention, including noticing that while Mike Tyson may not be in his prime, he still has the power to dish out and use to KO a certain social media star. Some even think that these videos are a direct message to Logan Paul, so he'll think twice before ever agreeing to do a match. After all, once he's locked in, there's no way out short of injury. And even then, while it's fair to note that Logan Paul had been training hard to get into boxing shape and in fighting form, in terms of moves and such, Tyson has way more experience than him in skill. So if this match happens, it might be nothing more than a payday for one of them. But Tyson isn't coming to play. He's coming to fight. And there you have it, everyone. A look at the match that might just happen between Logan Paul and Mike Tyson. What do you think would happen if Mike Tyson finally fought Logan Paul? Do share your thoughts in the comments below.